it's a party. What is that? What is it? Oh, it's a fucking hawk. Anyways, hey y'all, my name is Kayla and welcome to my cozy chaotic corner of the internet. In today's video, we are going to be discussing the 25 books that I would ideally like to tackle in 2025. There is no particular order to this stack of books. It's just a stack of books in which I currently have on hand. These are books that I'm very excited to read. I will note that. It's not like I was just like, ooh, here's 25 books for my shelves, let's read them. No, these are books that I'm like, I have an itch to read these currently. And hopefully that itch sticks around long enough to read all these. So again, no particular order. We're just gonna bing, bang, boom our way through this list. I actually have 3 library books that I want to cover because these will more than likely be books I'm literally reading at the start of 2025 in January because again, they're library books and ideally I read them and return them in a timely manner. So we're gonna start with a nonfiction book. There are a couple nonfiction books in this lineup today, but we have as I drop books. We have American Scary by Jeremy Dauber, and this is pretty much just the history of scary stories, horror movies, horror books, like just that general genre and how it has evolved and impacted the American zeitgeist. So also this cover is absolutely fantastic. I love it. This is a hefty book. You could do some damage with this book. Up next, we have Queen Macbeth by Val McDermott. And this is the story of who we all know as Lady Macbeth from William Shakespeare's Macbeth. It's just a retelling of her. It's a short little shorty. I actually saw this at a local bookstore recently, and I was humming and hawing at picking it up. So when I saw it at the library, I was like, perfect. I'll rent it from the library. If I really like it, I can add it to my personal collection. I just realized all 3 of these covers have a very similar color scheme. We have Blake Crouch's Run. If you guys know, Blake Crouch. Loved Recursion by him earlier this year. Read it earlier in 2024. Absolutely loved it. This one is definitely a lot shorter. And this actually is no time to think, no time to ask why, only time to run. 5 days ago, the epidemic of rage began. 4 days ago, the rash of senseless murder swept the nation. 3 days ago, the president addressed the country, even as the murders increased tenfold. 2 days ago, the killers began to mobilize. 1 day ago, the power went out, and tonight the killers are reading the names of those to be killed in an emergency broadcast system. I'm excited. The next set of books are specifically series. These are series I want to tackle. So realistically, this is a list more than 25 books, but they're 25 collections that I want to tackle in 2025. To start, I want to reread Tithe by Holly Black. And with that, I want to read the Modern Fairy Tale series. If you don't know the lore of Kayla and Holly Black, when I was a young human, I lived at the library and Tithe was one of my favorite books growing up. I read it when it first came out. Not to age myself, but I'm about to age myself a whole bunch when talking about these book series I want to read. I believe Valiant came out quite some time after Tithe. Like, I think this was supposed to be a standalone at one point, and then they just made it into a series. Or, this also came out back in the day when you weren't pumping out a new book every 5 seconds as well. That was also a thing back then. Since we are on the Holly Black train currently, I also want to tackle a novel of Elfhem series. So that is The Cruel Prince, The Wicked King, and The Queen of Nothing. The Imperium by Rebecca Yarros, aka everyone just knows it as Fourth Wing. Onyx Storm comes out at the end of January, so I plan on finishing Iron Flame in January, and then obviously consuming Onyx Storm at the end of January. I already have it pre-ordered. I don't care what anyone says. This was amazing. I'm actually really enjoying Iron Flame so far. wood. I would like to finish The Imperium. The next series I want to tackle is one I actually do not own, and I don't think I ever owned this series because, again, Kayla lived at the library and I read this series specifically from the library. I would just like to say I am a hipster and was one of the first people to ever read this series because, again, I lived at the library. So anytime there was a new book on the shelf, I was yoinking that thing right off the shelf. And that series, I love how I'm like really being like, I was the first, don't come at me. And now I'm like slightly embarrassed to tell you that the series that I would love to re-tackle this year is the Twilight series. I'm not including all the offshoots of like the mystery series of Brie, whoever, don't care about Edward's POV. I just want to read like the original 4. Twilight, New Moon, Breaking Dawn, Eclipse. The original 4, I want to reread them. I want to reconsume them and see if they hold up to how I remember them being. And including another series in the reread, I would love to reread the Hunger Games trilogy. It's a classic, it's amazing, but sometimes I feel like, you know, it holds a special place in my heart because of the moment that it entered my life. And does it hold up? We'll find out. 2 more series that we have to go over. God Killer trilogy. Faithbreaker comes out in April in the United States, and I would like to consume Sunbringer and Faithbreaker in 2025. And the last series I would like to tackle is actually a manga, and that is Death Note. I know this is old. I know it's a cult classic to some people. I really want to tackle it. I really enjoyed the anime. I actually, unpopular opinion to some, I enjoyed the Netflix movie, and I feel like I need to now consume the original manga. Also, y'all, anytime I have my nails done, I feel like I just need to talk with my hands, as if my hands aren't the same hands I have when I don't have nails. We have Everyone is Watching by Heather Gudenkoff. This is a reality TV thriller. I'm excited. Are you? Another nonfiction that I want to delve into is The Third Perspective by Africa Brooke. She's someone I follow on Instagram. I discovered back in 2018. And, you know, she came out with a book and I want to read it. We have Bury Your Gaze by Chuck Tingle. This was an anticipated new release for 2025. Guess what? Caleb bought a lot of books in 2025. I read a lot of books, but I didn't read all the ones I bought. So that's going to be the theme of this stack. Reading books that I was excited to read in 2024. In 2025. So we have Beartown by Frederick Bachman. I hear everyone and their mother cries their eyeballs out over this book. It deals with a lot of heavy topics. So yeah, I'm interested to read it. I'm interested to see what it's all about. When I look at not only this cover, but the title and specifically the font, this book indicates that it is going to be a heavy hitter emotionally. So I'm intrigued to see what it's all about. Okay, y'all. Up next, we have Bunny by Mona Awad, followed by another nonfiction, Paris the Memoir. Now, you guys may say what you want about Paris Hilton, but you need to watch her documentary. I know it was originally released on Netflix. I think it's currently on YouTube. It is absolutely wild to hear like her actual story, what actually happened to her as a child and young adult. And yeah, I'm intrigued to see what her book has to offer, because the documentary about her was just like completely changed my perspective on who Paris Hilton is as a person. So I'm excited to learn more about this amazing woman. Next, we have Jawbone by Monica Ojeda. My favorite little snippet, the thing that caught my eye about this book, was this little smattering of words interweaving pop culture references and horror concepts drawn from Herman Melville, H.P. Lovecraft, and anonymous creepypastas. Jawbone is an ominous, multivocal novel that explores the terror inherent in the pure potentiality of adolescence and the fine line between desire and fear. Next on the list is We Solve Murders by Richard Osman. I've heard so many people rant and rave about the Thursday Murder Club, but to be quite frank with you, the context of a bunch of old people solving crimes just never really seemed up my alley. This one, though, is a little different. It is about a retired detective who is now solving crimes with his daughter-in-law. So I'm intrigued to see how that dynamic plays out for me personally. I have read The Hunting Party by Lucy Foley, and I was so about that one, but I've heard a lot of people say that The Paris Apartment is where it's at when it comes to Lucy Foley's work. So let's put that to the test in 2025. This is The Wicked Boy by Kate Summerscale, and it is the mystery of a Victorian child murderer. I'm sorry, children who kill, terrifying. I need to know more. The book that I was obsessed with in 2024, but never actually read in 2024, we have Lady Macbeth by Ava Reid. Is this my obsession solely because of the cover? Absolutely. But the contents of the book also sound interesting. So we'll see what Ava Reid has in store when it comes to Lady Macbeth. Apparently 2025 is my year of reading Lady Macbeth retellings because we're all tired of the old fool Macbeth. Okay, y'all. I'm not sure actually how I feel about this book that I'm about to show you, but apparently this is the ultimate book when it comes to dark academia. You want dark academia? You want some academic vibes? You have to read Donna Tartt's The Secret History. Why did no one tell me this is like a giant chonker of a book though? To be so totally for real with you guys right now, I don't think I'm gonna like this book. I do not think I'm gonna like this book, but I at least want to give it a whirl. I want to try and read it. If I DNF it, I DNF it. But I have heard so many people say, like, this is the book if you want dark academia. So we're gonna give her a whirl. But in the same vein, If We Were Villains by M.L. Rio. I've already started this book. Technically, I started this book back in 2024. And we're like, acquainting. We're getting to know each other again in 2025. And I'm very excited to delve into this. I already know I enjoy the writing style. I just originally started it as a library checkout and had to return it before I actually ever finished it. So we are gonna be delving back into If We Were Villains in 2025. Y'all, I'm so proud of myself. I thought this list was gonna be full of nothing but fiction, but we have our last and final nonfiction. Actually, I'm not gonna lie. As I was like making my list of all the books I own, this is apparently not a nonfiction. I always thought it was because the synopsis makes it sound like it's a nonfiction, but it might be fiction. So I may have just hyped this book up for no reason, but I still think it's going to be a good one. And that is Beautiful Revolutionary by Laura Elizabeth Willett, the thrilling new novel inspired by the events at Jonestown in the 1970s. Okay, yeah, so this is definitely fiction based on Jonestown. And if you don't know what Jonestown is, it was a horrific, it's horrible. Maybe I'll do like a whole video specifically about Jonestown revolving around this book. Because I want to explain what Jonestown is, but long story short, it was a cult and a lot of people unfortunately died against their will. So I want to read this in 2025. And last, but certainly not least, again, this is like literally in no particular order. So I'm like looking at this book and I'm like, I feel like I should have had something more grand. Last but certainly not least, we have One Perfect Couple by Ruth Ware. In 2024, I read The Woman in Cabin 10 by Ruth Ware. I really enjoyed it. It was good. Was it like the best book ever? No, but it was good. This book is actually about Love Island contestants-esque people. If you don't know, Ruth Ware writes thrillers. So Love is Blind plus a thriller, yes please, sign me up. So those are all the books I want to read in 2025. The big question is, will I? I guess you'll just have to subscribe to the channel and stick around to find out. I will see y'all in the next video. Bye bye bye.